Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel again, and this is the third chapter of our Devfest App series, and I'm really excited to share as much as I can in this particular series. And thank you so much for the support which you guys have been doing. The last video we targeted 300 likes, although we could not reach that particular point, but I'm sure that this video we are gonna get 300 likes for sure. In one day maybe, and please do that if you can, because it really motivates me for creating more and more stuff, and that's the only factor which is a value for me. And also make sure that you give star to the GitHub repository so that I can push more open source codes, so that you can use them in your own projects or you can get benefit from them. So now let's start with this video. So far we have already covered how to work with the Flutter block library, as well as how to make different themes like light theme or dark theme, although we will do a lot of changes with that. But as of now we are done with the part. We haven't done the UI so far, so in this video we will be doing a little bit of UI as well. So let's start with this. So before doing anything, I'll create a new branch from here. So I'll select here and I can create a new branch. I'm gonna name it dev #CH03, which is for chapter 3. I don't want you to miss anything, or even if you are watching this video after few months, then also I want you to give the same experience to you. That's why I'm doing it. So now what I would like, I would run this project to see what we have as of now, so that we can progress with the whatever you have done so far. It's not a small thing. That was the toughest part you have done. Now everything is gonna be very easy. So if you are like thinking that you missed something or you could not understand something, then try to rewatch the second chapter, because second chapter is one of the most important chapter of this series. And please make sure that you understand it properly, and by the time we will cover everything else, then I'll try to repeat that second chapter, maybe the content here as well in other chapters, so that it can become more clear to you. And now let me just do it a little bit adjustment here. Okay, now we have this screen as of now. So what I'll do, first of all, I don't want to give some random home scaffold here, so I'll rather give a home page here. So home page can be here, and for every screen or for every different screen we are gonna give some routes. Okay, so that routes we will do here, like this is the routes which this material app accepts. So we will be doing that. So now for home page, what we will do in the lib folder, first of all what we will do, see our test is giving some error. So what I can do as of now, I'll just comment this. Okay, now what I'll do, in the lib folder I'll create a new folder called home. Now in the home folder we will have the same thing which we had in config folder. So we'll first of all we will start with home page, because we need a home page as of now. So here I'm gonna go and I'm gonna bring a new file, and I'm gonna name it home page.dart. Okay, so this is our home page. It's gonna be a stateless widget. So I'm gonna import first of all material.dart, which is the best part, of course the easiest one. Then it's gonna be a stateless widget, so home page. I'm not gonna explain. And then what we want with every page, I want to give it a route name, like every page when we are doing navigation, that it has a route parameter, or you can say that it has some name by which we can identify that which route is this. So I'm gonna give a static const string here, which is gonna be, I'm gonna name it route name. Okay, so for home our route will be /home. Okay, so whatever our URL is by and then /home is for home page. So let's say if we are working with Flutter web, then it's become very much essential for us to specify the routes, so that we can directly write that URL to reach to that particular point. Okay, so that's the idea. Now in the container, so I'll go back to my main.dart, and here config page.dart, and here I will import this home page so that we don't see this error at least. Now here what I want to do, I want to make a scaffold here. Okay, so I'm gonna make a scaffold. I'm gonna give an app bar to it, and then let's see how it looks. So it looks pretty cool. And then I want to give it some body, so I guess we have to do it here. So body, and I am gonna give it some container. Now for every screen we have, I want to give it the same scaffold, or I want to use the same scaffold for some reason. So what I'm gonna do, basically I'm gonna create the scaffold for every other screen. So I don't want to specify every time. So what I'll do, I'll go back to my folders. I will create another folder in lib, which I'm gonna name universal. So here I'll place some universal widgets which can be useful everywhere. So here I'm gonna make a new Dart file, which I can say dev underscore scaffold dart. So this scaffold we can use anywhere, right? So that's the idea. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna copy some of the code here, and then I'll explain what I'm doing. So first of all, I will import material.dart. So now this is the dev scaffold. Now it's taking a title, it's taking a body, and it's taking a tab bar. Okay, it might be possible that this tab bar is not available because on every screen we don't want to show a tab bar, but sometimes we want to show it. So that's why if you'll see here in the constructor, the body is required, the title is required, but this tab bar is optional. Okay, and then we have an animated container here because we want to do some kind of animation when our view changes, and the duration is 500 seconds. If you want, you can remove it and you can just have a normal container. Then for the color, we are making sure that if our dark mode is on, and again I am using the config block, I need to import it, so I will import it now because it looks like I am creating a new object of it, but because it's a singleton class, so we are gonna use the same object this time as well. And we are checking if the dark mode is on, then we are setting a gray color, otherwise the white one. Okay, then we have a safe area widget. Safe area is useful when you have to deal with iOS devices. So that this in the bottom you can see this particular bar, this black one, it should not override with your content. So that's why we can use safe area. Then we have the normal scaffold. That's where the main part comes. Here we will pass the title. We want our titles to be centered so that we can make it look different or same for both iOS and Android in the center. Otherwise it will be centered in iOS and left aligned in Android. So we don't want to do that. Now we are using font awesome icons here. So for light bulb and solid light bulb, so one for dark mode and one for light mode, and we are giving it some size of 18. And on the press of it, we want to dispatch an event. Again, if you are confused with this config block part, then watch the chapter 2 right now to understand. And then we are using our share library here to press that share button on the top, and then we are passing the body here as well. So now I'll repeat all of these. Let me just go to home page once and change this scaffold to dev scaffold. Okay, so dev scaffold is here. Now for the title, I can give some random title. So it's totally your call what title you want to give, but if you don't want to give, then also it's fine. Let's say home page. Okay, and then we have the body part as well. So again, if you want, you can change it or you can give anything. Let's change it home. And for the body, let's have just a container. Okay, and you can see we have this home on the top, we have this bulb. Now I'll go back to dev scaffold. Now we have this bulb icon, which when we will click on the icon, it should dispatch an event. So an event happens when we do an action and we receive a state when something changes on the screen, or if we have some new data. So we at that point we change the state. So that's what the idea was, right? So I'll also tell you how it works. So when you call this dispatch method, you need to provide that event which you want to execute. So event is dark mode event. So when you will do this, then what will happen, it will go to the config block and it will execute this method, which is map event to state. Okay, so as of now you can see it's blank, we are not doing anything here. So if I'll press this button, so nothing actually happens, right? So now what I'll do, in the config block I have to return something. Okay, so by default when you press this button, what I want to do, I want to first of all have a try catch, so that anything, if anything breaks, then we want to, let's say we will catch that error. So let me write something like this, stack trace, and whenever that error happens, then we want to print the stack trace so that we can see that what error it is. And because we are dealing with streams, if you can see the method returning is stream, so here we can yield. So yield means basically we are maybe returning a particular state, and which is, let's say, current state, or we are, you can say we are exposing a value, or we are throwing a value back to the caller or out of this stream. So this is the yield current state. So if anything wrong happens, then return whatever state we already have. And whenever you will do an event, first of all I want to set it to for this use case, let's say unconfig state, which means that it goes back to the initial state, and then we can say yield await, because we want it to be asynchronous. Then we can call event don't apply async. So if you remember, with every event class we are overriding this method apply async, and here it takes two parameters. One is the current state, so we will pass the current state because we already have the current state, and then it also takes a block. So we can just write this because it's this class itself a block. So now what will happen, so when I'll go back here, so when you will do the dispatch or and you will give the event which you want to execute, it will go into the config block, it will execute this method which is map event to state. It's all written in the block class why it's happening. So if you will go here, then you will see how it is working. So here is this method dispatch, and if you see it, then what it is doing, it is adding this to this event subject. And when you will see the event subject, let's see this event subject. So event subject dot stream, we can see it. And now if we will go here, then what's actually happening, you can see this is map event to state. And when it's doing that, if I'll just show you how it actually works. So here you will see that it is passing, whenever you are initializing this block, it is it is actually instantiating this state subject with some initial state, and then it's calling bind state subject. So when an event occurs, first of all it calls this on event, and then so here it is on event, and because you are, and then it's added it to subject event subject. And what happens is that this method gets called here. If you see bind state subject, when it calls, then it actually transform for every event, it returns this map event to state, which is which should be here, it's somewhere here I guess. Yeah, so this is the part. So basically every block has this method. So and you can see for each, if it is taking it, it is returning the current state as well, and then whatever comes, it add that particular thing to state subject. So basically this is the logic which is happening in the background. So basically you don't have to remember all of this, you just have to remember that whenever you will dispatch a method, map event to state is gonna be called, then you will yield a state. If you don't want to yield any state, then you can just comment it and you can directly yield whatever state you want to yield. So why I'm doing this, so that in onConfig state I can show a loader or something. So that's why I'm yielding this first, and then I am apply async, I'm calling this apply async method. So if I will go to config event, then let's say we are executing this dark mode event. So we have to provide the value of dark mode is on or off, and here you will see that we have this method apply async which will be called, and then we will return a particular state from here after doing necessary work or after writing the business logic. So now if you will click here, then you can see it is working, right? So what we are doing, we are returning in config state, and that's how it is working. If you are still confused, just try to rewatch it again and by the time we will do it again and again, so it will become more and more clear. Maybe few things I can miss here, let's say if I'm not able to explain a particular thing here right now as of now, but then whenever it will come back, then I'll try to explain it again so that it can be very clear for you. Okay, so this is the situation. Now going back to home page, we have a normal container here which is not doing anything for us, right? So what we want to have a home screen here. So we will create another class here or another Dart file which we are gonna name home. Okay, home screen dart. Okay, now I'm gonna paste some other code here as well, and I'll explain what's actually we are doing. Okay, or maybe we should not. So let's do one thing. Let me have a class which will be normal home screen class. So if you'll see, I'm just gonna import the material.dart and home block as well. So this particular class is taking a home block and the key as usual, and it's returning a home screen state. Okay, that's the idea. Now we don't have home block, so we need to create a home block, right? So what we can do, we can just go back to our home folder and we can create a new file, home block. And how we are gonna write it? So we will go back to config block, we are gonna copy all the code and we are gonna paste in the home block, and then I'm just gonna rename it here with home block. This is fine. Now for same config event, we are gonna call it home event. So I'm gonna make few more files here. One would be home event .dart, another one would be home state .dart. Again, we are still facing issues with our UI part because we have to do some work here. And then we can have index.dart, which makes sense. So this is the normal thing which we have to do. And then we can have something called a home provider, which can provide us the data, like from fetching from the API or from wherever we want. Now if I'll go back to home event, then what I want to have an abstract class. So if you remember, this is how we will do it. I'm just gonna import index.dart as well as okay, so what we need here is in the index.dart we need to write it. So this is how we will write it. So we have all the classes here, and in the home event I'm gonna import everything. So import library index.dart. Then it's giving me some errors for some reason because of home state probably. So here also in the home state class I'm gonna do the same thing. So if you don't understand it, then you should watch my chapter 2 right now, because then it will be much more clear. And yep, this is fine. So now we are done with this part. We should be done with this part as well. It's showing me some error. Why it's showing that? Maybe we are missing something here. Okay, I don't think that we are missing something, but since it is immutable, so we should not be getting this error. Oh, it's an annotation error, so I guess we need to import meta.dart or something like that. So you can import package meta.dart and this error should go here as well. You can do the same stuff, meta.dart. Okay, so we are done here. Now I'm gonna just change it here as well, and I'm gonna say home event and home state. Okay, and I'm just gonna replace each of these. Okay, and this as well. So it's again a singleton class, as you can see, which means we cannot create more than one object here as well. Now I'm just gonna remove this dark mode because it's already a part of our config block. And for on config state, I'm gonna say unhome state. Okay, so this is kind of same. Okay, and same here, we can remove this part because we don't want to load anything here. Or if you want, then you can add on home state here as well. It's totally your call. You don't have to be restricted anywhere. and then we can change this as well because it's a config block singleton, so I'm gonna name it home block singleton. Now we don't have unhome state, so I'll go back to home state, and now I want to have a unhome state. So I'm just gonna write some code here which is unhome state, which is extending home state, and the same thing which I have already explained in chapter 2. And now we can import this home block, and we don't have home screen state yet, but then I'm gonna copy some code and then we will have that as well. So or we should maybe create one, right? So what we can do, we can have something like this, and then something like this. Okay, so what's happening here is that we have home screen state class which takes a home block, and in the init state we are dispatching a load home event which is still not available, so I'm just commenting this. And in the build method we need to write some code. Okay, so what I want to write is I want to show a loading indicator if there is no data. So first of all, I'm gonna say what we can do, we can return here a block builder. Okay, so block builder, what it will do, again I have done it already, it will take two parameters, one will be your home event, another will be your home state. And what it's gonna do for you, you will specify that what's your block. So I can say widget.home block, then you can specify the builder. Oh, it has some change in the property, I guess. Yeah, it takes the home block now here, so it has been changed with the recent version of Flutter block. So now it takes a home block and a home state. So what actually happened, oh, it used to take home block only, I am a little bit confused here. Okay, so in the builder what it gives you a callback with context as well as the current state. So it gives you all of these, and now what you can do, you can check if the current state is unhome state, because by default unhome state will be there. Then what you can do, you can return in the center a circular progress indicator. So this is what you can do. But let's say if the current state is not unhome state, then it will be some other state, right? So let's say if it's an error home state. Okay, so what we are going to do, we will go to, in other cases, let's say let's not deal the error yet, but let's say if just a home state, then it will return the circular progress indicator, otherwise it will return the home front. Let's say now what is an home front, we will make it. So in the home widget home folder, we will create another folder, or we can say it home widgets. So now here we will draw some UI. In the home widgets we can have something called a home front. So home front dot dart. Okay, it is totally going to be a normal, maybe you can say normal UI part only. So this is my home, and I'm just gonna delete all of this so that, okay, so I'll just explain everything, so don't worry if you see something missing from here. So okay, I have to do a lot of things here, so we can maybe write it from scratch, that would be much better. So let's do one thing, we will import first of all material.dart, then we will have a stateless widget which will be home front, not home page. Now in home front, what we want our home front to look something like this, and let me just show you this Devfest app. If you will open it, so this is how it should look. Oh, we are getting some error here. Okay, that's fine. Okay, maybe so if you haven't seen the app already, so you should see it. So it's basically that idea. So I'm not able to show you right now, but here we will have some data. Okay, we will have something to show. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have a normal single child scroll view, where basically what we are going to do, we will first of all give it some padding. Okay, and in the padding, let's say we are going to give it padding of 12. then what we want in the child part, we want to have a column. Okay, why I'm giving single child scroll view? Because for small device, what we want user to scroll at least to see all the content. Okay, and now I'm gonna give a cross axis alignment to center so that we can show the items in center, and it will take some children. Okay, and now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make an image card. So what's an image card, you might ask? So we want to show an image on the top. Okay, so I will go back to my universal folder and I'm gonna add a new widget here, which is image card. Okay, now here I'll replace this image card, but right now let me make it how it will look. So here I will return a container basically, and I'll replace it with image card widget. Then I will give some padding to it. So constant 20. Then I can give some height. So because it's gonna be an image. Okay, so I will use media query so that I can give a size according to the device. So I'll just give height of 0.3, whatever height of the device is. Then the width, and we are gonna give the entire width of the screen, because we are already doing the padding work here, so we don't have to worry about that. And in the child part, we are gonna add image.asset, and if you not remember, we already have some kind of image. Okay, so if I'll show you the image, maybe you will get the idea. But if you will go to devfest.dart, here we don't have the image. Let me add the images, because if you remember, in the assets we copied two images, banner dark and banner light. So we need to add those images so that we can show them here. So I'm gonna just import home front here as well, and then we will go to home front, and we need to pass an image here. Okay, so that's the idea. So now what I'll do, so this is what we have to do. So now I'll go back to devfest.dart, and here what we need to do, we need to add those two images. Okay, so I'm gonna write some code here, somewhere here, and these are our image. So we can remove this part, although we don't have this image anymore. Banner light, banner dark, it's just using the path asset/images and banner dark or banner light. So now if we will go back to home front, then you can replace it with one image, let's say devfest.banner light. And now if we will do a hot restart, it should work. Okay, for some reason we cannot see the image yet. I am not sure why that's happening, but that should work. That's what I have believed. Okay, and we are not even it's not even showing any error. Okay, so the idea behind is that we are not even calling the home screen yet. So this is the part of home screen, and in the home page we have this normal container, so we need to replace it with our home screen. So now home screen demands home block, so we have to give it some home block, right? So we don't have a home block as of now. So what we can do, we can create a home block here, and we can pass this home block here. So 1 second guys. So this is done, and now you can see we have the circular indicator, and if I'll just do this, so it's gonna show me this circular indicator all the time. Why it's happening? Because if you will go here in the home screen, it's actually saying if it is unhome state, then just show this. But it's all the time it's a home state, because we are not dispatching any event, so we don't have anything like load home event, so we need that. So how we can do that? So what we will do, we will go back to our home event class, and here we will create this method, and then what we can do, we can do the event part. Okay, so we are gonna write class load home event, okay, which will extend the home event, which is all, you know that it's compulsory. Then we will create one missing override here, and then we have home state apply async method, which is returning home state. And then what we can do, we will override one more method, which is load home event to string method. And then here in this particular portion of the code. First of all, let's make it asynchronous. Here we can have something called a try catch. Okay, for catch block you already know that we can specify something like this. So we are gonna make a error home state as well, and then here we can await it for few seconds. So I can write future dot delayed duration seconds, 1 second let's say, and then we will return in home state. So basically if it is not unhome state, then you can return in home state. So you might be wondering, we don't have in home state, we don't have error home state, so we need to make one. Okay, so if some error occurs, then we will return error home state, otherwise we will return in home state. So it will carry some data, this in home state will carry some data, but right now we don't have any data. So I'll go to home state class, we have unhome state again, and we now need two more states, one is in home state and one is error home state. So let's first make error home state. So it will be very much similar to this. So this is error home state, which is taking an error message, and this is fine. Now we will copy this as well, unhome state, and we will make it in home state. So in home state, this is fine. Now if I'll go to home event, then everything looks fine, everything is looking good. Now I will go back to home screen dart, and here we have already uncommented this piece of code. Now I'll do a hot restart. We will go to debug console, and if you see this will show for 1 second, and then we have the image, and that's how it works. So you might be wondering that for a small image or for a small screen we have written a lot of code, but trust me, it's gonna be very useful for you in the future, because as soon as now I will add functionality, it will be very easy for me to do anything. So it's just a one-time work which I am doing, and because I am explaining all of this, so it's taking more time, but it's gonna be very easy for you. So you just have to have a home block, and I'm gonna give you a shortcut as well, that how you can create this very fast. So just bear with me, and I'm gonna give you a shortcut. So home event is there, home blog is there, home state is there, which are the three essential part for us. And then we have something called basically a home provider, which will help us in returning the data, which we will see. But now if I'll go back to our home front, then we have this particular container which has some image property and all that, right? So now, as I told you, we will move it to a image cart. Okay, and then we will see what we have to do with this. So I'm just gonna copy this part of code, I'm gonna cut from here, and I'm gonna go to image cart.dart we just created, and here I can first of all I can import material.dart, then it's gonna be a stateless widget. So I'm gonna name it image card, and it will take an image because I want to use it from anywhere. So final string image, and let me just create a constructor for this. This is fine. Now I'm gonna just copy that or paste that piece of code which we taken from there. Now I'm gonna import this Devfest as well. Now this is fine, this is all we need. Now for fit, we have to give the fit to cover the entire screen, so that what we want. We also want our filter quality to be high, although by default it is high if I'm not wrong. So let me just see if this is high or not. So by default it is low, so we are making it high so that we don't lose the quality here. And then if you want to do some decoration with this container, so you can do some decoration, like say box decoration. Why I am doing this? Because let me just tell you that we also want to give it a feature of dark mode. So we can give some color here according to the mode or the dark mode. So this will be okay. So we haven't created this hex to color, which we will create. We will import this config block here. So there is a class called tools which we will create, which can convert our hex to a color, and then we have given a color. Now also we want to give some border radius, so we are gonna give some border radius. Now I will go to my utils class, or if you want you can create anywhere, but here in the util class I will create a new file which is tools.dart, where I can write some tools like how to convert from hex to and color. So I'm gonna paste it. This is a class tools with a static hex to color method. It is not doing anything. It's just converting a particular hex code to a color. And then we have static multicolors list where we have red, amber, green and blue, which we are gonna use later. But now coming to image card.dart, we are importing this particular hex to color, and now it's fine. Now what we can do, one more thing, we are gonna remove this devfest.bannerlight and we are gonna replace it with image, which we are getting whoever is using this image card. Okay, so now going back to home front, now here we need to use the image card. So I'm gonna use the image card, and because image card needs an image, so I'm gonna say that if my config block dot dark mode is on, so I will use devfest.bannerdark, otherwise I will use devfest.bannerlight. So now you will see that we have this image. Now if I'll go back to dark mode, then we have the dark image. So that's the idea. And because we are using animated container, so you can see some kind of animation happening here. Okay, so that's the idea behind it. It's not still the UI, the UI is still not complete. So what we will do, we will write some text below it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use first of all here, after image card I'm gonna give a height of 20. Now before writing some text, what we can do, we can go back to our devfest.dart and here we can paste some text, okay, which we can use later, right? So what are the text which we can use? So I'm gonna write some text which can be useful for us in the future. So here I'm gonna just paste here few text, that welcome text, which means welcome to GDG Devfest, description text, which consists a description, loading text, loading, try again, so that we can use anywhere, anytime, and we don't have to specify it everywhere. Okay, so that's the idea behind it. Now I'll go back to my home front.dart, and after this sized box which we have just used, so what we will do, we will create few things, like we can create a text, a list of widgets where we can have welcome text as well as the description. So what we can use, let's say we will have, after this sized box we can have something like this. So a welcome to GDG Fest, then again a sized box, and then again a description. Now let's say if you want to move them to another widget and then you want to use them, so what we can do, in this particular area we can return a list of widget, okay, and we can name it devfest or devfest texts, okay, and it will give us, it will pass, we will pass a context here, and then in this particular list we can remove all of this from here and we can paste it here. And now if you want to use this list using Dart 2.3 spreads, you can directly use it using 3 dots and you can just say devfest text and it should work. It's not working for some reason. It's saying that we have to fix this, that we are not using the correct version. So we will update the SDK constraints and now it should work. So it's working. So that's how we are gonna do it. And now because we are done with this part, so we can also have similarly in this same fashion, we can have some actions which we can use for scheduling and for speakers and all that, which we are gonna do later, not in this video because this video is already lengthy. And below that we can have some actions, so that action part we are gonna do. So what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna copy some more piece of code here, and after this devfest text I'm gonna paste it. So we have the app version here, we need this social actions, okay. So we are gonna make another you can say another widget here. So here I'm gonna paste something. So I'm gonna import font awesome icons, also the launch URL which we are gonna get. So I'm gonna make another method launch URL here before this, okay, and I'm gonna import. Okay, so what we are doing, so in the social actions we have a fitted box so that we can fit everything here. As you can see, we have a row, where we are saying space around. Then we have icon buttons all around, and so one for Facebook, one for Twitter, one for LinkedIn, one for YouTube, Meetup, and one for email. And what we are doing, we are actually using this URL launcher package. Whenever you will click on one of those items, then it will call this method launch URL. It will pass the URL, it will see if it can launch that URL, then it will launch the URL, otherwise it will throw an error that could not launch that particular URL. And then we are just writing this particular this is my Facebook URL, Twitter URL, LinkedIn URL, YouTube URL, so you can specify your own. And then we are using this email URL with some encoding and how you can write it to open a email application. This is how. So this is the idea. And then we are using a size box again, and then we are specifying the app version, which we have in the devfest.dart, if you will see here. So this is the version. Okay, so this is how our first screen looks like. Now let's try dark mode, and everything looks cool. Okay, we haven't specified anything, it looks very cool. So that's the idea, that's the UI. And this is still not the complete home screen, we need actions yet, but because it's already a long video, so we'll see that later. And if you'll click on the share button, it also works. So right now we don't have apps in simulator. So where is the share button? We have it in the Devfest scaffold, dev scaffold, and here you can see we are using the share package dot share method and to give some random text to it. So that's the idea behind everything, and I hope that you enjoyed this video, although this is a lengthy one, but you really need to understand all the key parts. And if I missed something, then let me know in the comments. Also, please subscribe to the channel if you're not the subscriber, and also press the bell icon. And please like this video if you really enjoyed it, and you can dislike if you want, if you felt that this is something which is a waste of time for you. Maybe you could skip this video, but if you are not skipping, if you're watching it for 30 minutes still feeling that it's a waste of time, then you can definitely press the dislike button. And please make sure that you go to the GitHub to check the code. The complete code is also available. This particular dev hashtag CH03 branch is also available. I'm gonna push it, so I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna say CH3 completed, and I'm gonna push it right now. And yep, so it will publish the branch as well, because this branch is not available. So thank you so much guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Please make it 300 as soon as possible, so that we can come with videos quickly. Okay, bye bye, see you next time. I guess it's not working for some reason. Okay, I'll do it. It's working, don't worry, and we can push it again. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video, and keep fluttering. Bye bye.